Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nyasha. Welcome to part 2 of how to make your work unique as a designer. So if you didn't watch part 1, I'm gonna put a link somewhere on the screen or in the description box so that you go and watch part 1. It's going to help you understand most of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about here in part 2. So today we're going to be talking about the inspiration board. So someone asked me if the difference between the inspiration board and the mood board. For the sake of your research, use the both terms because today the internet is using the two interchangeably. So if you really want to understand what I'm talking about, you want to understand more in depth and you're going to do your own research, use the two terms. But if you ask me, it's an inspiration board, not a mood board. A mood board, there is something called a mood board, there is something called an inspiration board. But what I'm talking about today is an inspiration board. But because most people are using them terms interchangeably, when you go on the internet and you just search for mood board, you're going to, you're going to find half the information that is on the internet. So use the two terms so that you get everything. Anyway, by definition, the inspiration board is a type of visual presentation or collage consisting of images, text, or samples of objects in a composition. It can be based on a set topic or any material chosen at random. A mood board can be used to convey a general idea or a feeling about a particular topic. So as a designer, you need to choose an inspiration like we talked about in part 1. And now the inspiration board is where you're going to put the elements when you research your inspiration, the elements that you find, the ideas that you find, the information that you get, you're going to put it in one place. That one place is the inspiration board. If you ask me, it's basically creating an environment where your designs are going to come out of or they're going to fit into. So just creating an environment. A mood board is visual, okay? But with my experience, it can also be, you can include other things that are not exactly visual, but something that you can feel, okay? I have this one tip, it's a very big tip. Keep watching and I'm going to tell you, but the mood board is just creating an environment, and that environment is where you're going to be when you're designing, is where you're going to see your clothes, or where you're going to fit in your clothes, or where the clothes are going to come out of. Okay, I hope you understand, right? So what you need to include in your mood board, before we talk about that, a mood board can be physical, it can be digital. The physical ones are not hard, but I feel like they take so much time to make, though they may be more realistic than on the digital ones. You cut out pieces of paper, like you cut out the pictures that you think, talk about the inspiration that you have researched, and you place them on a large piece of paper, swatches and all that. But that would mean you need newspapers and magazines that actually have the stuff that you're looking for. It can be digital. The digital ones, I usually download pictures and use some PhotoGrid collage maker. It's just a collage of the things that I want to see in my inspiration board. You can use Pinterest and just make a board off of Pinterest, but I want to be able to access my mood boards even if I'm offline. So the PhotoGrid thing is the best for me. So you can use whichever one you want. But anyway, the elements that you need to include in the mood board. Firstly, you need to include style features. In this mood board, I hope you can see it. You see, there's that button-down shirt, and there's this retro, whatever, Queen Victoria time. There's that corset. There's that lace up at the back. You see, these are style features that I want to include in my collection. So you should also do the same. You also need to include the color palette. If you don't put in the color palette, you're going to be lost. This collection has some Tuscan sunset orange in off-white in that paisley print. That's my colors for this mood board. You need to include your color palette. The color is the first thing that people see, so there's no way you're going to be planning out your inspiration and not including the colors, okay? the fabric swatches. So now that's the problem with the digital ones. I can't add fabric swatches on here, but you can always look for pictures that look like, you know, the fabric that you're going to be using, because it's kind of hard to look for. The names of fabrics are very different. So while you think you're looking for like, we have polycotton, regular polycotton fabric here in Zimbabwe, right? That's the one that we use for shirts. But there's so many other fabrics that have polyester and cotton, which are not the regular polycotton that we call polycotton. So it's kind of difficult to find pictures of fabrics on the internet since we use different names, okay? But anyway, you can always look for pictures that look like the fabric that you want to use. And then text. You need to include text. Some inspirations cannot be done away without the text. You can't research about steampunk era and do not find text, the fonts that they used and stuff like that. So include that. It will help you kind of see the direction that you're going. It can even generate some style features for you. So yes, include text if there's text, okay? Imagine if you're making like a romantic dress, maybe for Valentine's, and you just include, you know, a love letter that's written in some handwriting font, like maybe Alex Brush. Like, do you see how you're creating the environment of intimacy? You see? Now, here is the tip. You need to include some audio or music. Now, here is why. You know, music speaks to the soul, like to the inner man. It does. So while you're creating an environment for which your clothes are going to fit into or come out of, you, the designer, need to also fit into the environment. So you don't just, yes, you can fit in using your eyes. I mean, clearly you're using some visual stuff, so you do understand what you're looking at, you know, what you're seeing and all that. But if you include some audios, some music, you're speaking to the inner man. The inner man understands the assignment if you're using some music. So use some music. If you're making, imagine you're making a collection for some hip-hop dance group. Play some hip-hop while you're doing it, okay? If you're okay, let me give you an example. For me, I discovered this tip when I was in my 4th year. I did a collection on African Game of Thrones. The collection was not clothes like fashion. It was costumes, things that if Game of Thrones was African, that's what they would wear. So for me to understand the assignment, I was listening to Mbiradze Narira. You know Mbiradze Narira, the traditional group that, you know, African traditional Shona, you know, that's the music that I was listening to. I was also listening to cinematic music. So I looked for cinematic music that linked to the African blah, 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 right? And then that when I was doing the exhibition, I didn't just choose some nice music for these models to walk using. I used the Game of Thrones theme song. Cemented the whole thing. You don't just see the African Game of Thrones, you feel it. You see? So you need to use some music. Please, Shandi Sai music, guys, for this. It works. It sinks you in the environment. This is the link, okay? Anyway, the last thing that I need that is very important that you should never do with the inspiration board. Don't put in too many ideas. Don't. If you put in too many ideas, number one, if you're making a single dress, it means that dress is going to have too much going on. You're going to have a dress that has a plunging neckline and a high collar, a slit on the side, a slit on the back, and some flounces and some sleeves. You want a cap sleeve and a short sleeve and do you see where I'm going with this? There's too many ideas for one dress. So if you're making a inspiration board, just put in a few ideas, not everything. Number one. Number two, if you are making a collection which has many clothes, like maybe 10 or 15 or even 3, if there are too many ideas, your designs are going to be disjointed. Remember, a collection is a collection of dresses. They need to be related. So if there are too many ideas, they cannot be related, because one dress has one idea, the next dress is a different idea totally, and the next one is another different idea. So you have a collection of dresses that aren't linked, and yet it's a collection. So never put too many things in your inspiration board. Just put in a few ideas that will help you connect the dresses or the outfits, or that will make that one dress not to have so much going on. Okay, so that's it for today, and that brings us to part 3. Part 3 is going to be talking about the material that you're going to be using for your collection. Okay, so thank you for viewing, thank you for liking, thank you for sharing. If you're new, please subscribe, like, share, comment. Tell me what you need to hear, what you need me to talk about. Tell me if you like this video. Tell me if it works for you. See you again next week.